Welcome to Job Tales, the show where we find out about various professions from around the world. Each week I speak to a new guest with a very interesting job. I'm Laura Leoncini and today my guest is Jos Frederiks from the Netherlands. Former professional basketball player, Jos is partner at Createment, an IT career development company. Jos, just before we started recording, we were talking about how in school you need to make a choice pretty much early on, and you often end up in a job that you're not passionate about. Now, your present job is about changing others' careers, following your passion, having the courage. Can you tell me how you got into this new profession?
Well, that's a good question. I have a background in professional sports. I used to be a basketball player in the Netherlands for 17 years. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. If you love sports and you can make a living through it, that's the best thing.
Yeah, great achievement.
Yeah, unfortunately, your body after a while says, stop. It doesn't do anymore what the mind wants you to do, which is a good thing also. No, but there's one thing that I really learned in hindsight is you cannot have a professional career if you don't follow your passion. You have to be passionate about it because it's such hard work. It's such hard work to reach this level where you can play at that level. So that's one thing that I really learned myself. Well, I don't know if it's learned or it just happened. It's something that I felt you have to find your passion. Yeah, that's actually the same thing we're doing with Createment right now. We're helping people finding their passion, actually chasing their dreams.
Createment is an interesting word. Can you explain it to me?
Where the word comes from.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually pretty simple because if you look at it from a helicopter view, we're in the recruitment business. We help out our clients with finding IT profiles, but then we developed a method where we do this with only people without a background in IT.
Mhm.
So and I'll explain a little further if you want to, but these are all different profiles with one thing in common. Well, actually, two things in common. The first thing, they have no background in IT, so no study or relevant working experience.
Okay.
The second thing they have in common, they do have passion for IT. So hence createment, recruitment, but we create them. We don't find them. We just create IT profile.
Create recruitment. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, awesome. And in your case, just to go a little bit back to your story, and then we can talk about the others. Is you found your passion when you were very young and you started playing basketball. You became professional, and then you made a living out of it, right?
Mhm.
And what brought you to IT? Like from the moment you had to switch to a different career, I would imagine you would take on, for example, coaching, basketball
Mhm.
coaching, or some kind of coaching. You did kind of stick with the coaching part because now you're developing careers for others. So you're coaching others. But why IT?
See, the thing is, like I said before, when you're in a professional sports career, at least in my case, I also was the kind of player. I was certainly talented to a certain extent, but I always gave it my fullest, and I always
Hmm.
knew that I needed to have the passion to go out there every day and work hard to reach a certain level. And that's also something still to today that gives me fulfilling. I have to do the things that if I go to work, I need to feel passionate about it because that's the only way I can function.
You need to excel.
Yeah, I need to excel, but also it's like the gasoline for my engine. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? To
understand.
surround yourself with people you like that give you energy, work in an environment that gives you energy. So that's something that always worked in for me in my basketball career. So when that ended, well, first of all, my first career switch was an easy one actually because I became the general manager of the professional basketball team.
Okay.
So it's a switch, but still it's in the same market. Nothing really changes. And then I ran after I did that for a couple of years. I ran into my current business partner, and he started Createment at the time. He just started it. He had his first assignment actually, and he told me about it. And he was looking for somebody to help him grow the company. And he immediately got me. He pushed that purpose button, if you
Hmm.
can call it that way, because one thing that I really loved about the professional sports parts, well, actually, two things. First of all, I love being surrounded by people that want to push themselves every day, that really want to set their bar high aim for the stars and just go for it. I just love that. That's one thing. But the other thing that I think is very fascinating always is that what makes one team function and the other one doesn't function. See, I was lucky enough to play basketball for 17 years at the highest level. I won 5 championships, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
That means I didn't win it 12 times of the time. So I ended up losing more than winning. And again, in hindsight, these seasons where you lose are usually they have usually the best learning experiences, because then you look, all right, what makes this team tick and the other one doesn't? And the group dynamics also very, very interesting. And going back to my first encounter with my current business partner, Jeroen, he hit that purpose button, because I'm like, all right, so now we're entering totally different field of experience into IT, but
Hmm.
actually the same thing. What makes me tick, getting people to follow their passion and putting them in positions where they can excel. So
Right.
yes, I'm into IT, but actually I'm more into the talent development
The
field of
result,
experience.
yeah,
Yeah,
oriented to the results for
yeah.
others. Okay, nice. So you joined the partnership, and then you started to develop the this career development, let's say, technique. And
Mhm,
so now to your customers, right? So because I'm sure that our listeners, who are young listeners but also adult listeners, it could be
mhm.
the children and the parents, you get yourself into, yeah, kind of feeling stuck into your career and say, okay, how do I change? I realize that I've not been in the job of my dreams. Maybe I thought so, or I needed a job, and then you end up having that job for 10, 15 years. But what really ticks for me is IT, for example. And how do they make this shift? How do you help them make the shift and then become good or excel even at IT?
Within Createment, you mean,
Yeah,
or in general?
yeah, within Createment.
Within Createment, see, well, looking at the people that walk into our door, so to say, it's very different. We have you can't even. I'll give you some examples. If you look at the people that are working for us right now, that are in the process of changing careers,
Hmm.
the youngest is 20 years old, and the oldest is 63 years old.
Wow, no
Yeah,
way.
and
Amazing.
everything in between, but also everything in between. Looking at their backgrounds, some of them have double diplomas, like studied university, college diplomas
Hmm.
in different fields. Some, legal, finance, but also some of them have no diplomas for whatever reason. See, when you're 18, what do you know about life? You try something, and there's also some external factors. Sometimes it doesn't work. You switch careers, then all of a sudden you want to make money, or you need to make money through whatever circumstances. And then you're 22, 23, or 25, a little older, and you wake up and you find yourself in a position. You say, this is not really where I find my passion. And so that's actually what we provide to all these people. We just tell them, hey, listen, if you come in, all you need to bring is passion for IT and willing to work really, really hard, because it's not easy. It's not easy
Hmm.
to do this. The funny thing is that, also I told you about the different, but there's people coming from all different backgrounds. I'll give you a few examples. We have somebody that used to be a dolphin trainer. Somebody was a professional ballet dancer,
Okay.
fireman. I can go on. I can go on with a list like that. But all people that one day woke up say, "Hey, that's not for me. I want to the rest of my life. I want to do something that really makes me tick."
Hmm.
And that's a great thing. That's a great thing to do. That's a great thing to work with. Surrounding yourself with people with a lot of energy, willing to follow their passion.
Does it happen that you find people that then that you tell them, I think that IT is not for you, or do they always succeed
Yeah.
in
No.
having a
Yeah.
career?
Yeah. Well, there's two questions in that one question, actually, because see, the story I'm telling, I think it's a great story. At least from that's what I think. I hope you find it inspiring as well. But the reality is that out of every 100 people that like apply for this career change project, less than 10% make it through the assessments, because it's very hard.
I
It's
see.
very hard to do this. If you want to make a career, see, if you want to go to IT, actually, you need a study, a 4-year study. And from there on, you start learning, actually. We all know once you finish your school, you still don't know anything. So that's where the learning actually starts. So with the project we developed, you can do this like basically from day one, and you learn. It's like live and learn, actually, but not everybody can do it. So we have a very, very, very strict selection procedure on the front of the project. So yeah, coming back to your question, do we tell a lot of people that it's not for them? Yeah, close to 90% of the people walking in here, we tell them,
Mm-hmm.
well,
I see.
keep following your passion. I like that, but this is not going to work.
Like you don't have the skills, or
Yeah, well, yeah, we try to say it a little friendlier, and no, but I do
okay.
mean this because I really I always think, see, it takes some guts. It takes
Yeah.
some guts to go in somewhere and say, hey, I want to switch careers. So we always tell them, it's like, hey, if this is your if you really feel passionate about it, don't let me bust that bubble. Keep following your dream, but you have to find a different path. It doesn't stop here, but it stops here because we invented some method that you can be reskilled very quick,
Mm-hmm.
and that what makes it successful also on the business side, because we don't, not only do we have to worry about the people walking in here who want to change careers, but we also have our clients that expect us to bring people that are up to speed ASAP. So that's what we do. So like I said, close to 90% don't make it, but we try to help them out with finding different paths. There are
Mm-hmm.
different ways to roam, different paths to go there. But on the other hand, once they do come through our selection procedure, then 98% of them is successful in making
Okay,
this career switch.
98%. Okay, so you have a very strict selection process, but
Yeah,
then those who stay, you really groom them into them becoming IT professionals.
yeah.
And how long does it take them? Because you're talking about 4 years average if you do your studies, and
Mhm.
how long do they take with you?
1 year.
1 year. Okay.
It's 1 year for them to go to from starting with us,
Mm-hmm.
going through the whole project, working at the client, and after the year, they find themselves getting a job at the client. So that's what we do. So
Okay. So
to
you
make
have a customer, you have a client that would hire your students like
yeah,
already, okay, from the get go, like you match them from the very beginning, or
yeah, that's a good thing you asked this question, because that's a huge part of our success, or to
success?
make it
Yeah,
successful. Let me put it
yeah. I
that
was
way.
gonna say, yeah.
Because if you look at the recruitment market all over, it's a lot of like people moving around, going from one to the other, and trying to, how do you say it, move boxes. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And if I look at our clients, they're in IT, there are a lot more vacancies than there are people. So actually, this problem can never be solved. So you have to look at the problem from a different perspective. So we're more than happy to be able to find enough clients that want to adapt our approach. But in order to make it successful, and this is now I go back again to my sporting background, what makes some teams successful, high performing teams, it's not really about the quality of people. If I look at my basketball, but everybody could play basketball, but it's putting the people in a team that have the same goals, the same ambitions, the DNA of the organization.
Hmm.
So what we do, once we have some of our people coming through our selection process, then we go to our client, and this is another very intense process where we ask them, all right, now look at the match, the DNA match, whether this fits your company culture. So they know upfront from day one
I see. Okay.
which
Wow. Yeah. So you're grooming basically your own customers for your other customers' needs, and then they'll be prepared at the end of the year to match that profile, which exists.
exactly.
That's
So
awesome. Hmm.
yeah, it's very
So it's a very successful, yeah, match basically. And what you say about the team building and being in a team is so important, because you can be the best IT or in any sector, but if you don't fit the company culture or the objectives of the team in the company, you are just not a great match for the company. And eventually, it might either you might want to change because you haven't found your happiness in that company, or the company will have to to change you. And so these two elements that you find, the passion, the fact of wanting to excel, and then being in the team, are there more elements that you find are very important that you can see also from your previous career that you can interpret and use into today's career development for others?
You mean if there's, besides what we just spoke about, if there's other elements?
Yeah, like other skills, or yeah, other
Well,
techniques, or
yeah,
astuces.
well, it's also personal. See, I want to go a little back. I think it all talking about the DNA, the match with the company culture. I think this goes for every organization and every team. Looking from a organizational perspective, if you want to have a high performing team, go look for the people that really match your culture. That's one thing. But also from the professional, look for the companies that match your personal ambition and core values actually. So I think this is something, if you ask me, that is general, but especially in IT, it gives us, it's like our pitch, so to say.
Hmm.
Because if you look at our clients, they cannot find the people to fill all these vacancies. And then we tell them, all right, if you take a different look at the problem, so a different approach, then all of a sudden you take it, what is a problem, into something that gives you an advantage, because all of a sudden there are concrete example. Last week, one client, they couldn't fill one vacancy because there's just not enough people out there in the market. We started looking for them, and we had 8 profiles for them, because it's simple, because actually the sea of talent is a lot bigger. And that's just by looking at the problem differently. All of a sudden there's more and more and more possibilities. But coming back to your question, what else is very important, besides this? Then, if I zoom in into the IT market specifically, there's so many. It develops so quickly with AI. Just for example, AI.
Yeah.
So nobody really knows where we'll be in 3 years from now. All we know, it's going to be a lot different than today.
Know what we have today. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was gonna
So
be, yeah, my next question actually, as to like, we talking about IT, but what do you mean by IT? What are the
yeah.
fields?
Yeah, it's very broad. IT, whenever I say IT, people look at me, and usually people think at developers,
Hmm.
but it's so broad. You have the diehard developers, but that's back end development. You have front end developers, you have data engineers, but also consultants in the field of IT, application specialists. It's very, very broad.
And you're able to train all your clients in these various fields.
Yeah. See, that's another interesting thing. Whenever somebody comes in here, they always say, "I want to be a developer." 90% of the time, I want to be a developer, and they say, "All right, let's first see if we can." If you come to the selection process, and once they go through it, then we ask them the question again. So you want to be a developer, but tell me why. And then usually it's not that they really, really want to be a developer, but they want to solve complex problems.
Okay.
And this can be found in many areas in IT.
You don't have to be a developer to solve complex problems.
No, there's so many different. You can be a
Mm.
test engineer,
You're
like I
right.
said, a data engineer. There's a DevOps engineer. There's so many different roles where you can really solve complex problems. But then we come to the X factor. Actually, going back to the DNA match, is that people going through a process. The biggest, I think, factor for success is that they start with a company where there's enough room to grow, so where they can keep their, how do you say it, their ambition alive, the fire burning, the fire to develop themselves burning, and they feel at ease. I mean, it's a company
Hmm.
where they can really match the cultures. So I think that's the most important thing. And then circling back to the developments right now, because in IT this goes so fast. So one very important example, or no, trait actually, that you need to have, you need to be able to keep up with these changes. This world is changing so fast now. I can't even imagine what's going to happen the next year. So you have to be able to adapt. Adaptability, that's the word I was looking for.
Adaptability, yeah. So it's so important, yeah, and especially in computer science and IT, anything, yeah, related to what the technologies of the future or the present, like AI, virtual reality, and augmented reality, or it's really permeating in many other fields like the medical sector, biotechnology, and everything really, and
Yeah,
weather forecasting. And there's so many jobs that are going to be created, and so it's IT being a very fruitful field to work in, and then you can, by adapting, you can also find your new job within your previous job as you adapt and become,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely, and
specialized.
yeah,
Hmm.
and that's one thing that I really like about what we're doing, because the people that really intrinsically motivated want to make this career switch, they usually are the personalities that like these changes, that want to adapt to new, that want to continue improving and innovating, etc., etc. So yeah,
And
you can tell I'm excited about what we do.
yeah, I can tell. Now, about excitement, I would like to also ask, what were the challenges you faced yourself, in this transition and into your new career? What things that our listeners can learn from?
For myself, you mean the career switch
Yeah.
I made?
Mm.
Well, it's I saw a clip yesterday. Accidentally, I was at some event and they showed a clip of Steve Jobs, which said you can only connect the dots in hindsight. So just move forward. This is my interpretation of it, actually. But I really like that. And if I look at, now, you asked me this question, what were the challenges? At the time, I didn't really see them as challenges,
Hmm.
because I always had this, and I'm very lucky to have this. I always had this. Whenever there's a challenge, I like it, and I just jump in.
Right.
Um, but these in hindsight, this gave me the biggest challenges, because if you jump into a new situation, with which, it's always the same. A new situation, it gives you energy, it gives you endless possibilities to grow, and at the same time, you start. It's uncertain,
Yeah.
you don't really know. It's out of your comfort zone. This is exactly what we do at Createment at the same time. But this gives you challenges. But I like these challenges because there's always room to grow also. And if there's one thing that I always try to tell the people around here, is like, all right, if you feel a little uncomfortable, if you feel a little out of your comfort zone, embrace the challenge, because this is where you're going to grow. And we don't know where you're going to grow. You'll have to find out. It's your path. But I always think that's a good thing.
Mhm. And one last question for our young listeners, those who are maybe don't know that they could be passionate about IT. Do you have any tips, any hints that you can give them as to how to find out early on before they choose a career they won't like and then they
Yeah.
want to switch down the road? How
Well,
can they learn if they're really, passionate about IT?
yeah, very good question, because I actually had the same discussion with my oldest daughter not too long ago, because she also had to, and she chose to go into the field of communication, and she asked,
Hmm.
where should I go? What is, and I told her, I said, really, it really doesn't matter. Do what makes your heart tick, and go, and you'll end up where you'll end up. But just go what makes your heart tick. So that's the advice I give everybody
Hmm.
all over, if they ask for it, actually. I'm not running
Yeah.
around saying this to everybody, don't get me wrong. No, but in order to find out if you like IT, that's pretty simple these days. If you just Google, and just go, there's so many websites that with all different AI toolings. Start playing around with them. If you want to, just Google, say, how to learn to be a developer. Well, you'll end up in perfect platforms that give you tutorials about how to start off with little programs. You can start off programming the light switch in your room, stuff like that. Just
Hmm.
try it. Just
Okay.
try it.
Basically, do a bit of a homework, and yeah, there's a lot of tools out there available at the click of your finger.
Exactly. And just try it. And you'll find out yourself if it starts a fire or not.
Okay, and if it does, then
Check out
go to
Createment.
school or Createment. All right. Well, thank you very much, Jos. It's been very inspiring what you said, and a very original way to approach your field, and the way to improve other people's professional lives. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
That was Jos Frederiks, IT career developer in the Netherlands. You will find more episodes on Spotify, Google Podcast, and Apple Podcast, as well as any of your favorite players. I'm always looking for new guests, so please send me ideas to jobtalespodcast@gmail.com. See you next week for a new episode of Job Tales. Bye!